Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Cotbox. So, a couple of years ago I made a video called the Bardakoff Split, and while doing that research it turns out that he wasn't the only one who went through that journey. After doing some additional scavenging, it turns out that there is an entirely different voice cast for most of Mario's friends in the 90s. The Bardakoff Split was just part of a much more complicated event that I'm going to call the Martinet Fracture. Before we get into this tangled web of voice actors, we need to set some ground rules. For the sake of my sanity, we're going to keep this strictly about games on the N64, beyond a few exceptions. I also won't be going into TV shows and movies for this episode, but I would like to cover those versions at some point in the future. We are going to be breaking down these character roles one actor at a time, following their path through a series of games. To help visualize this, I've created the Mario map. Here we can map out a path of each actor's journey across the various Mario games. After we cover each of the actors, we can see how this journey is kind of played out across this map. The most important part of this map is the two instances of Mario Kart, due to the fact that there is a different voice cast between the international and the Japanese release of the game. This makes it the launching point for each actor's journey across the map. And I can think of no better actor to start with than one of our favorites on this channel, Julien Bardakoff. Now, I don't plan to spend too much time on him since not only have we dug into his history before, but we've even sat down and gotten some answers from the man himself. What we learned from his time as Luigi is that his tone for the character was a bit goofier and higher pitched.
Here we go! Yeah! I'm the best!
Bardakoff appeared in a total of 4 games across the franchise: Mario Kart 64, Mario Party 2, and Mario Kart Super Circuit. Originally starting as a French translator for Nintendo, he voiced Luigi for a short tenure before moving on to work with Ubisoft in 2006. His Luigi may not have lasted for very long, but for many of us who grew up with those games in the 90s, we're sure to have some nostalgia for his version of the Green Boy. Our first new actress is Asako Kozuki. She would lend her voice to Princess Peach during her time at Nintendo. She was brought in for Mario Kart 64 and, much like Bardakoff, ended up voicing Peach for the game's Japanese release. She would also reprise her role in Mario Party 2, and Super Circuit. Her initial appearance in Mario Kart was definitely just a quick recording for the character, but she does a wonderful job. She's actually the first voice actress to give Peach the higher-pitched, bubbly voice that we're so accustomed to these days. And these same voice clips would be reused in Mario Kart Super Circuit.
Here we go! Yay! Peaches has it! Yahoo!
For the following Mario Party titles, she would return once again to do the same voice style for Peach, but this time her voice clips were pitched up a slight bit.
Yeah! Peaches got it! Oh no!
For someone who was brought in as a temporary voice actor for such small parts, Asako really did a good job of bringing Peach a little bit of personality in her earlier days. But she wasn't the only one voicing Peach at the time. Back before Mario Kart, before this whole fracture of voices happened, we heard Peach speak officially for the first time in Mario 64. Right at the very beginning of the game, the first thing you ever hear, it's the iconic message requesting Mario to the castle for a slice of cake. This version of the character was voiced by Leslie Swan.
Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I have baked a cake for you. Yours truly, Princess Toadstool. Peach.
Much like the other actors, Leslie was much more than just a voice actor. She worked as the senior editor of Nintendo Power magazine at the time, as well as a manager of the localization team at Nintendo's Treehouse division. She even wrote the original English script for the final version of Mario 64. Her next appearance would be in Mario Kart. While Asako was lending her voice in the Japanese release, Leslie gave Peach her voice for the international release. To no surprise, this interpretation of the character was very similar to the voice she gave her in Mario 64, with that deeper and softer tone.
Here we go. Peachy. Yeah, Peaches got it.
She would continue to do localization for Nintendo, as well as become the voice of Mona in the original WarioWare game. That is until 2004. Nintendo was about to launch their newest handheld, the Nintendo DS, and they wanted to prove to everyone just how dang cool it was. To do so, they announced that the system would be launching with a remake of Super Mario 64 with more characters, levels, and missions. While developing this game, Leslie was actually brought back to pen the script changes that were needed for the game, including dialogue from Princess Peach. In a unique situation, a whole 8 years since voicing the character, Leslie agreed to come back and read the new dialogue for the princess.
Dear Mario, please come to the castle. I've baked a cake for you. Yours truly, Princess Toadstool. Peach.
This would mark the end of Leslie's role as the princess during our timeline. It's so cool after all these years that she jumped back in to play Peach for the remake. It's sort of like a little encore to celebrate her history as the character. This leaves a few games on our map untouched, and that's because our third and final actress for the princess is Jen Taylor. She was brought on to voice the character for both of Camelot's sports games. In all 3 games, she would lend her voice to both Peach and Toad, as well as lending her voice to Daisy in Mario Party 3.
Here we go! Good shot! Yeah, Peach is the superstar!
She would continue to be a consistent voice throughout Nintendo's history, moving on to become the main voice of Peach, Toad, and Daisy for a good handful of years into the Mario series. Her last official game that she would record voice lines for would be Super Princess Peach on the DS, giving her one of the longest running tenures of most of the actors we're looking at today. Since 2001, she has been the voice of everybody's favorite spacefaring AI, Cortana, most recently appearing in Halo Infinite and continuing to leave her mark on the gaming industry today. Our next stop is Tomoko Maruno. She would lend her voice to everyone's well-known fungi, Toad. She would initially appear in the Japanese release of Mario Kart 64, and those voice clips would go on to be reused in all 3 of the Mario Party games, as well as Super Circuit. The interesting point here is that her voice clips were also used in Mario Golf alongside clips from Jen Taylor. This would mark a common trend for future Nintendo titles where many characters would reuse old voice clips, usually mixing different takes from different actors.
Here we go! Yahoo! Okay!
Mario Golf would be Tomoko's last appearance as Toad, officially being fully replaced by Jen Taylor from Mario Tennis onwards, but she'll always be remembered for her time in the original Mario Party trilogy. Wait, why are we watching a Donkey Kong Country promo? Why does this have to do with anything? Well, the game doesn't, but he does.
And it's like, whoa, and it blows your mind.
This is Isaac Marshall. He was a game designer and tester who worked on a good handful of Nintendo's classic titles back in the 90s, usually affiliated with different titles worked on by Rare, such as the Donkey Kong Country series as well as Killer Instinct. He also happens to be our next voice actor, although only briefly. His only voice acting credit across the games we're covering today, as far as I could find, is as the international version of Toad in Mario Kart.
Here we go! Yahoo! I'm the best!
Marshall is unique since he's the only actor here to appear in just one game. Mario Kart 64 would be his first and last time ever voicing Toad, and his last time doing a voice acting credit for Nintendo at all. But with how many hours we've sunk into Mario Kart over the years, his single appearance as Toad has cemented itself as an iconic role. So next time you choose Toad, remember to give a shout out to Isaac Marshall. Thomas Spindler, a man who has a shockingly similar journey to Bardakoff, but just a bit more yellow. While Julien was a French translator for Nintendo, Spindler worked on the German side of translation. In fact, when he was originally brought on to voice Wario in Mario Kart, it was with full intention of Wario being a German character, and just like the others, have his voice clips reused in Super Circuit.
Fire! Here we go! Wario, I'm gonna win!
This would gain some attention with his work during Mario Party and its sequel. This line, heard in the game,
So I missed!
many players thought was Wario saying, "Doh, I missed," when later on Spindler himself would confirm that Wario was actually saying "So ein Mist," which means something along the lines of "what a bummer" in German. Quote, "The concept behind Wario was that of a German character, and those responsible for the voiceovers at Nintendo back then intended him to speak German." I love finding these small details during a character's development. It's always interesting thinking about that they didn't really have an idea of what they wanted to do with him. They just sort of threw him in there and were like, "You're German."
So I missed!
Spindler had this deeper, rougher tone to it that I really do like. I couldn't imagine Wario sounding any different than he does now, but I'm curious to know what it would be like these days if they had kept the German accent. Okay, it's time. This is the big one. This is the main event. This is the man of the hour. It's the guy who the whole thing is named after, Charles Martinet. The voice of Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, and any possible form they could take. Basically, if they wear overalls, Charles is the one giving them a voice. Even in the games that the other actors showed up in, Martinet would still be there as Mario, and for good reason. Nobody does it like he does. After crashing the audition at the last minute for Mario, his recordings were received so well that it was the only recording sent to Nintendo for review. He was quickly picked up and has been voicing Mario ever since. Fun fact, Martinet has also done some voice work in some places you might not expect.
Dov Walan Farel. We were made to dominate. The will to power is in our blood. You feel it in yourself, do you not?
It's me, Mario!
His takeover of the Mario cast was gradual and happened throughout the entirety of the 90s. His first time voicing someone other than Mario was in the international release of Mario Kart 64. Bet you're shocked to hear that. He would also voice Wario and Luigi in this title, replacing Bardakoff and Spindler.
Yahoo! Here we go. I'm Luigi, number 1. Here I go. I'm Wario. I'm gonna win.
He would continue to voice all three of them in the two Camelot sports games as well.
Hey, let's all play. Come back here. What's the matter for you? Here we go. I win. I win.
Beyond that, he lent his voice to Mario and Wario in Dr. Mario 64, as well as both of the brothers in the original Smash. But most importantly would be his work in Mario Party 3. It was the first Mario Party to feature Martinet as the prominent voice for the characters. This game was the final release that solidified him as the now only voice of our favorite capped friends, aside from recycled voice clips in Super Circuit at least.
Good choice! Woohoo! I got it! Good choice. Ha ha ha! I got it!
Good choice. I got it.
It was also the first appearance of Waluigi in a Mario Party game, previously showing up in Mario Tennis, where Martinet had also lent his voice. This means that Waluigi is the only other Mario Party character to be voiced exclusively by Charles, right alongside Mario. The guy is a powerhouse. Before bringing his voice to Nintendo, he spent time doing the occasional commercial, but was mostly known for his work as a Shakespearean actor. And when it comes to Nintendo, you can tell that he's having a blast. In every interview and appearance he makes, it's so obvious how much he loves getting to bring these characters to life. The amount of passion that he puts into these simple voices and moments really shines through. Every single yip, wah, and wahoo that he does really has a bunch of energy behind it, and it really makes him the icon that he is today. And that is the Martinet fracture. Whew, that was a complicated journey. All starting at Mario Kart 64, it's interesting how they all decided to change so many of the voices up between two versions of the game. I wonder what brought that decision on. Would you have wanted this cast to stay if they had the chance? Let me know in the comments. I think it would have been a lot of fun to see what they came up with had this alternate cast stuck around. But we can at least continue to look back on the small time we have with them. Maybe someplace out there in the multiverse, there's a Nintendo that has Bardakoff's Luigi and Spindler's Wario. So many different actors, shattered in different directions, and voicing assorted characters across roughly a dozen titles. And Martinet is there for all of it. No matter whose voice you prefer, this journey, this fracture, is such a cool piece of Nintendo history. Well, that's it for this episode of Copbox. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to keep up on more stuff coming out. Every little piece of that helps the channel grow and lets me make more cool stuff. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.